Speaker, and it's a privilege to be here on a Friday to listen to a fantastic speech from my friend, my honourable friend. From this place, Madam Deputy Speaker, as you know, can be quite confrontational at times. But at times we come together to right a wrong, and that's what this House has been doing over the last few weeks, excuse me, and this is what we're going to do today. And at this stage, as the former Disabilities Minister, can I also congratulate the Minister on the front bench? Because we tried to do this several times. Promises were made in 2003, and we got it in writing, but did it go anywhere? Not really. The 2010 Act didn't even mention BSL. And when I was the Minister, all they were worried about costs and they were worried about this. And at the end of the day, we are here today. And I will also say to the campaigners that are at Trafalgar Square and listening around the country and actually around the world, because I think what we're doing here today is going to set a precedent from other countries as well. That disabled people who are deaf or hard of hearing have dreams and aspirations the same as anybody else in this House and anybody else in the world. Well, that's been held back because we didn't understand their language. We expected them to understand ours. Nobody that's deaf or hard of hearing wants to be deaf or hard of hearing, and I fully understand the community spirit amongst that community, and it's made them what they are, and it's certainly made my honourable friend who she is today. Thanks to Mum and Dad, I suggest a little bit. But we are lucky. We are the ones that can do something about this. And as we talk about different things to do, how this bill is going to be help and bring BSL into the open much more, can I say that it's an amazing, not only in 18 years I've put into every ballot and never ever got out of the ballot anywhere. Some would say thank goodness for that, probably the front bench at sometimes. But to come out of the ballot at 20 and have a bill which has been tried before in its different way and tried by ministers before to get to this position is astonishing. And that's happened because across the House and across the Treasury bench, they have worked to make this happen. And the degree to where the community, and I've seen some of the lobbying that's come towards me as well, we have gone further. Frankly, we've gone further than I have ever dreamt I would see in this House in a private member's bill. We're right on the line of what we can get and what we couldn't get, and that's been done because it's been cooperative. So perhaps at this stage it's a little message to the other House, because this is clearly going to go to the other House. Don't delay it, don't try and amend it, don't try to play party politics with it, just get the damn thing through and get royal assent. Subtle hint from probably everybody in this House. And those that are watching this House today and think, well, where are everybody? Where is everybody? This is a private member's day. This bill is going to go through today. So for a lot of constituency MPs, there are other really important events that I fully understand that they were committed to. And I've got to disappear after this debate back to my constituency as well. But it doesn't mean there's no one here that's not interested. It's actually the fact that it's going to disappear. It's going to go. And thank goodness it's going to go to the other House. And subtly, let's say again, hurry up the other House, get it through, because we don't want to lose this bill. Can I say a little bit, Madam Deputy Speaker, about where and why this bill is so important? My honourable friend touched on education. Like the other honourable lady, a colleague there, sorry I didn't pick up a constituency, I've been speaking to young people in my colleges as well. They want to learn BSL. When I suggested to them, if I came back in 2 years, would you like to have been taken an O-level or an A-level? Literally to a man and woman in the room, yes. How come it's taken so long for this place and the education system to not acknowledge the fact that there's a whole group of people out there that want to communicate with deaf people? This is not a one-way street that we're talking about here. This is actually people that want to be able to communicate. So we all know the figures, around 80,000 deaf people or hard of hearing people use BSL, and there's about another 100 added, those 180 that use it. But actually, for a whole group of people that would open up many things to them and a community that they pretty really don't understand. Learning at this initially basic British Sign Language and then progressing through. So as MPs, we can communicate with our constituents. And I sent a message out on Facebook the other day where I had an interpreter do my little I don't know what it was, half a minute, 5 minutes, who knows. Seemed like a lifetime to anybody that was watching it probably. But it was fascinating then to get the feedback from people that are not from that community that really didn't understand why people weren't lip reading, for instance, or why people don't look at you more carefully and why don't you speak more slowly, because they're deaf. And I've spoke before in the second reading about the military community. Like sadly, back in the days of my service, hearing defenders were almost unheard of, which is probably why this one is defective, because of the explosions and things that went on when I was in the armed forces. But to have a community saying, we want to learn, and they've been prevented from doing so because you couldn't take it, there was no curriculum for that, hint to the education department, I'm sure we'll be listening. But we've also gone through, and I think the Honourable Lady touched on this, COVID. When COVID hit this country and hit the world, deaf people not only couldn't see what was being, or understand what was being said by the Prime Minister, if depending on what channel they were on, of course, but they also went to have their vaccinations, for instance. Now, I was lucky enough to volunteer at my local vaccination centre, and we had several people coming in that were deaf, and some had interpreters with them, normally family, and others were completely lost in a service which is their service, free at the point of delivery. They were being vaccinated to protect them, and they just were petrified because no one had taken the time to just think whether these people need that extra bit of support. Now, I don't think it's extra bit of support. I think, and I banged on about this, not quite as much as my honourable friend, but I banged on about this for years and years and years, and it's great to where we are today. But when you go for an outpatient, I'm due to go to an outpatient's appointment next week. No one has asked me whether I'm deaf or visually impaired. None of these things are asked of people. I find that just astonishing that we're offering quite rightly services to people, whether it be in education, the job centre, or any of these other services that government does, forget about the private sector, and they're just missing the target. Now, naturally, I'll give way.
I just want to endorse the comments that my honourable friend's member is making by just telling making a quick point, and that is, my father was in hospital. Remember, he's profoundly deaf, born deaf, no hearing whatsoever, and a senior registrar comes to see him and says, Mr. Cooper, the lady who was visiting my dad said he's deaf, and she went, Mr. Cooper, and the lady said, he's deaf. The doctor walked right up to his ear, leaned in and went, Mr. Cooper! Now, if medical professionals themselves aren't joining the dots, we have got to do an awful lot of work.
Yeah.
I think my friend has touched on a very good point. This bill isn't the silver bullet. It's a methodology to get somewhere. It's a method of getting somewhere. But the hard work will start once the other place gets their finger out. And if I can come back to that in a second, because while we're concentrating on government departments, but there's a whole private sector out there that the Honourable Lady touched on, which is missing out on some profits and people enjoying those services that they're offering themselves. And I don't think it's a case of, clearly that consultant is not dim, which is what I was described as when I was at school, because I'm dyslexic, and apparently if you're dyslexic you were dim back in the early 60s and 70s. He's not dim, but he's ignorant. Ignorant of what the condition is all about. Now, clearly, he wasn't an ear, nose and throat specialist by the sounds of it, but I think the House will understand where I'm coming from here. It's not a lack of intelligence, it's a lack of understanding and compassion, which sounds like an old-fashioned word, but I thought that's what the health service was supposed to be about, interestingly enough. And my mother, who was a nurse for some 40 years, would tell me that compassion was the best healer in many times on wards than many of the other methodologies being used. But as we look at this bill and we say to ourselves, we must draw a line in the sand, and I think that that's quite important, and it should have happened years ago. We can talk about the 2003 Act, we can talk about the missing BSL in the 210, which is I've already done. If we can draw a line in the sand here now, and some of the stars of Stage and Screen have helped us get that into the public awareness, because that's the sort of society, sadly, we live in. And of course, as you can see, I'm an expert in ballroom dancing, I think not, but even I watched towards the end, because it was just a fantastic message to society that people have the same dreams and aspirations and everything that I alluded to earlier on. This is where the hard work starts now. And I'm sorry, Minister, I'm not on the front bench anymore, and I truly wish that I was sitting there now and supporting this bill going through, and I've sat and had many a conversation with the Minister about the bill. But I think this is where the hard work starts. Because the expectation from the deaf community, which will be cheering you from the rafters when you go to the rally later on today, like they did. Sorry, Madam Deputy Speaker. Not you. Yeah, they will be cheering you, Madam Deputy Speaker, from the rafters. I've only been here 5 minutes, you'll have to let me off. Cheering the Minister from the rafters. But they won't be cheering us from the rafters if we don't deliver. And it doesn't matter who's in government. This is a long process. It's taken that long to get here, but they expect us to deliver, and they'll expect the panel and the groupings on the panel. Can I just touch a little bit on the membership of the panel? I think the panel is massively important, truly, truly important, because it will be the voice of the deaf community. But we have to, if I touched on this, I think, in committee or perhaps at second reading, it shouldn't be all completely one-sided. The expectation from the deaf community being on the panel and hearing from me is absolutely right. But we have to try and balance some of that as well, so that expectation can be measured. And where it's going wrong, we can try and fix it, but you won't be able to try and fix it straight, there and then in the panel. So the membership of the panel is very important, not just the Minister and members of the different charities and the deaf community. So in conclusion, Madam Deputy Speaker, I am as proud as punch that this bill will leave here today, which I'm somehow convinced it will. It's taken a while. Expectation will be high. Let's meet that expectation and allow these people to live their dreams.
Hello, Minister. Vicky Foxcroft.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I start by congratulating the Honourable Member for West Lancashire on all her work in this area?